occasions that have resulted in him becoming quite accustomed to vehicles and being relaxed with the vehicles. There's a difference in the way a cheetah behaves when he's on a kill, when he's feeding, because it's that moment, from the moment that he kills something till the moment that he's, or she for that matter, till the moment that they've either had enough of the carcass or they're being chased off. But for that entire time, that from start of feeding to whatever the outcome is, they are super vigilant. Most animals make a noise when they are killed. Most animals give a death cry. Cheetah try their best to stifle it. It doesn't always happen. Being either a hunter that strangles their prey, or they bring it down at such high speed that they're able to, the neck is broken, so there is no noise. But nonetheless, there's a little squirrel right in front of me, actually making its way towards the cheetah. It's looking, it's running in the grasses and lifting its head up, going to see, and he's just noticed it. He's just seen the squirrel now coming towards him. He's sitting up and watching it. Scott, squirrel. And he's twisting around watching the squirrel. I don't think that was a very brave squirrel. I don't think that squirrel's ever seen a cheetah. Sorry, you can get distracted. Sorry about that distraction. Where was I? What was I saying? I watched that squirrel come to the marula tree, and I thought, oh, he's going to climb the tree and start alarming. But it did even a braver thing. Actually ran towards the cheetah. He couldn't believe it. He was flabbergasted. So cheetahs actually travel over quite large areas, and other guides get to see them, and they get to learn how to calm down. I was saying that also they get very nervous around a kill because other things are likely to come and steal it from them. They don't have strength. I mean, look at those legs, skinny legs, small jaws, thin waist. They're kind of scrawny cats in a way, so they don't really have much of a chance in a fight, and that's why they don't really stick around for a fight. And they'd rather have an advanced warning of something coming in when they're feeding and get away quickly, which is I think what he did this morning. There was a leopard. The fact is that there was a leopard around anyways. Weird why that leopard didn't come out after he'd killed something, but evidently the leopard did have an encounter with him. Now, if I remember correctly, 2011, I think it was in Duna, off of Zoe's Road. Could have been Mishu. Maybe it was Mishu. One of Karula's cubs, at about the age of 2 or so, had an encounter with a cheetah just off of Zoe's Road, in that open area where we sometimes watch the sunrise. There's now a new little track that cuts through that piece of bush towards Quarantine. There was an encounter between the leopard and cheetah, and I'm wondering if it's not maybe even the same cheetah. That also could be. Ellen. Yeah, I can see the scar now that I'm looking through the binoculars. Ellen in Arkansas was saying that there's a scar, the lower left of his nose, sort of a diagonal scar going down the front of his nose. And yes, Alan, very much so, that'll probably be there forever. Or the hair might grow, but there will always be a little bit of a scar there, and that'll be something that you'll be able to see as a key identifying feature, where you don't even have to worry about spot patterns and things. Once again, there was a little bit of a strong breeze that blew through here, stronger than this prevailing wind that we've had all afternoon, and that little gust of wind made him sit up and look about. Sound-wise, there's a sound of fork-tailed drongos and starlings and babblers. That lovely evening sound of the birds trying to get the last word in before they all go to sleep. Evidently a lot of chat about names. I guess since the lion and leopard are named, I don't blame a lot of people for asking if there's a name or if there's a way to name him. His name is Cheetah, for now. I think it's entirely up to the guides of the Sabi Sand whether they name individual cheetah or not. It causes way too much confusion when we put names to things, and we are only temporarily here. It's the residents of the Sabi Sand. Marissa in Texas. Hello, Texas. How are you, Marissa? The survival rate of cheetah young, as opposed to other cats. Marissa, I'm afraid I have to, once again, this depends. I think there are different areas where cheetah success rate is higher. I can't give you a general answer, because what works in one area might not work in another, and some of the influencing factors on the survival rate of cheetah are most obviously lion, leopard and hyena populations within the same area, that interspecific competition that exists, as well as whether the habitat is sufficient, whether there is good enough habitat for the cheetah. I would say that the habitat type, the vegetation that occurs in an area, very much dictates the number of prey species that are in an area, and that always will indicate, or that will always have an influence on the population of the predators that occur there. And even then, predator populations vary accordingly, or according to different criteria. You see, you can't take every area in Africa and say that for every 10 square miles you've got one pride of lion, and you've got 10 leopards, and you've got 3 cheetah. It doesn't really work that way. Things vary, and even within an area, we can go through times here in the Sabi Sand where there is an era of relative ease of pressure on cheetah, that they're able to have higher success rates at raising their cubs, and then there can be times when maybe because of lion pressure and hyena pressure, things change, and that might be at a time when cheetah populations are in a particular area, not saying in general, but in a particular area like the Sabi Sand, there can be times when maybe cheetah populations have reached a point, kind of like leopard populations up here right now, almost like saturation. There's nowhere for these leopards to go when they're getting mature, and so there's probably a higher mortality rate because of it. There's just so many factors that it's very hard to give you a singular answer to that kind of question. Let's go over to different angle again, slightly more to the front of him than we are. We'll go over to Scott.
Welcome back to myself and Romeo's vehicle, and I'm not sure what the angle was like from Mark's vehicle, but you can see his left paw, and on that left paw you'll notice that the back of the pad at the opposite end to the toes is very pronounced and angular, more so than lion and leopard. So that's sadly, well, it is the best angle we've got at the moment. Now, what has he seen? Nothing that I can see at this stage, but something got his attention down there. Now, you may have heard Mark's vehicle start up, and he is heading off, and the reason why he is heading off is, unlike lion and leopard, we do not view cheetah after dark with the spotlights. So Mark's decided to head off and start looking for some other interesting animals for us to view, which is a great idea because we probably have about another 10 to 15 minutes worth of light that we'll be able to stay with them, maybe a little bit longer, and we will stay with them for as long as we can until it does get too dark to film without the use of spotlights. And the reason being is cheetah are diurnal cats. Their nighttime vision isn't nearly as good as that of lion and leopard, and just like we avoid shining on other daytime animals, mainly herbivores, but also wild dog, for example, we will practice the same procedure with cheetah. Well, I hope he doesn't move a muscle and decides to sleep here this evening. Just got a question through from Kathy in Florida. Good evening, Kathy, and welcome on board. Kathy is interested to know the lifespan of cheetah, and it's a good question. Around the 10-year mark is a figure that I've heard, so there and thereabouts. I would have personally thought a few years older than that, but 10 years is a figure that is quoted in various different textbooks, so Sadly not Nix, this is as good as the camera can perform in this light. Did I just say goodest? I may have. By goodest I meant best. This is the best the camera can perform in low light. Another question has just come through from Deb in Ohio. Good evening and welcome. Deb is interested to know if there's any female cheetah patrolling the Sabi Sands, and I'm sure there are in the different parts of the Sabi Sands. We traverse currently about 3,000 hectares of 65,000. So that gives you an idea of the tiny patch of the Sabi Sands that we are entitled to explore. So it's a lot bigger than the area that we can traverse, and there certainly will be some females moving around. But in all my time in the Sabi Sands, cheetah numbers have been very low, and there's probably not too many ladies for this guy. I don't know of any specific details though, sadly, but I'm certain there'll be some floating around. As I was saying, it looks like he may spend the evening here, and it's a great place for him to spend the evening. Just like prey animals will seek refuge in open clearings, animals like cheetah will do the same thing, because it's going to be very difficult for anything to creep up on this cheetah in this very open clearing. Contrary to if it was in thick bush, especially in this windy weather, animals would be able to creep up a lot easier to it. Now, if he does spend the night here, I'm sure he'll be awake far earlier in the morning than we are, sadly, and he'll probably start moving when it is still dark. But Mark and myself will certainly aim to try and find his tracks and do our best to track him down as soon as we can. Well, you may be able to hear Jason letting off a few giggles. He's easy to humour, and that's him giggling in the background. I've just got a question through from Robin asking, how do I know that cheetah's night vision isn't as good as lion and leopard? And that's simply from what I've been told. I've sadly never had the opportunity to actually Okay, well, Mark's just found something very interesting, folks, so I'm not going to carry on with that question, and we're going to cut across to Mark and find out what he's found. And it'll probably be goodbye from the cheetah this evening, so this is going to be the last views we have of it. and we'll do our best to find him in the morning.